Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to GateCrashers, your weekly dose of information from Fairmont Crest as we talk all about CBS's newest soap opera, Beyond the Gates. I am Vinny, and as always, I am with my two awesome co-hosts, Angela and Kim, and we are going to be diving deep into the all the tea that's been spilling all over the place at Fairmont Crest. Ladies, how are you tonight?
Doing well. Doing pretty
Wonderful.
well.
Doing great.
Fantastic.
Well, I'd be better if my daughter learned to drive, but other than that, I'm great.
So I do want to report. I did mention it on our show last in a couple hours ago, 8 o'clock Suds News. Yesterday I did attend a fan event with James Patrick Stewart, Finola Hughes, and Laura Wright from General Hospital. Of course, nobody from Beyond the Gates, but I did want to point out, I forgot to mention it in the show last night. I did ask a question to all three of them that were up on stage. The biggest question, the question was, for all three of them, if their General Hospital character can cross over into any other genre of television or entertainment. For example, I would love to see Jason Morgan in a WWE ring, which got a pop from the crowd. What genre or entertainment would you see them going into, or would you want them to go into? And as a matter of fact, Laura Wright said that when I mentioned about Jason Morgan going into WWE ring, she said Steve may have something to say about that because he would be more of an MMA fighter. But Laura Wright said Carly would be good as an alternative or better at being Beth on Yellowstone. Give Beth a run for her money. I've never watched Yellowstone, so I can't comment on that.
I could see them going head to head. I could see that being a fun sort of rivalry on that.
And then Finola said that Anna would be good on SVU.
Oh, yes. That would be great. Oh, I would love that.
And JPS said that Valentine would be good in a Bond movie as a James Bond character. So I thought that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah. No, that would be a fun crossover.
Yes. But all right, let's get into the show. We are here to talk. You're here to listen all about Beyond the Gates. Go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe, and get notified. Repost this so we get more people in, and jump in the chat because it is open. So let's get started. We could probably get started because we're getting deeper into the whole Leslie, Ted, Eva story as we find out more about when Ted cheated on Nicole years ago.
Can I just say one thing really quickly before we start? I've heard other people talk about it, and I guess I haven't paid enough attention to see it myself, but I saw it today. Anita with the Febreze.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Holy product placement. And it's PG, and I love it. It's actually very old school soapy.
It cracks me up, honestly, because I've seen her in previous episodes. It's like she walks around and just kind of spritzes it, and then smells the air, and it looks all happy, and then walks away.
Well,
this is the first one where they just straight up were name dropping, and it's so lovely for parties. It cracked me up.
We also saw either last week or a couple weeks ago, we saw Derek and Ashley using Tide.
The big thing of Tide.
Yeah, a lot of product placement. Which is, they're owned by Procter & Gamble, so
it cracks me up because that's why they were invented, to sell cleaning products. To sell
exactly.
Soap. That's why they were called soap operas. So there's something about it that I really love because it does have a very nostalgia thing.
We need to see them. We need to see a hand soap, actual hand, soap. Dishwasher detergent or laundry detergent doesn't count.
Yeah, such a great throwback to the history of soaps.
Yes.
It's fun.
All right. So, what do you guys think about Ted telling Andre, about the time that he cheated.
Those were great scenes. You know,
They
I wasn't
were.
expecting him to go full on like, here's everything. But you know, they I want to have like someone just kind of in the know and everything. But you know, Andre just like looking at Ted, just the looks that he was giving him as he was like hearing this, you could see like, you know, his hero just kind of like died a little right before his eyes. Like it just,
Yeah.
you know, you were just seeing him just in disbelief and then just like, oh my God, like it just, you know, it really rocked his world hearing about it. And, you know, with Ted, it's like, oh, you know, turtleneck Ted, my
And
guy.
Andre sleeping with Dani.
Right. Right.
They could get, you know, what if he gets drunk with her?
Yeah.
Mm, yep. Yep. I mean, there's
Or
definite room for,
yeah,
I mean, of all the people for him to kind of disclose, I mean, but, you know, obviously we had to
it's
keep
a
the
soap
drama
opera.
going.
Right.
Yeah. But my goodness, no, such good scenes though. And, you know, just heartbreaking knowing it was like all kind of in the mix of like everything Nicole's, all of her
Mhm.
struggles, like in today's episode when she started talking about just, you know, all of her issues with, you know, trying to get pregnant and then Kat being the miracle baby and everything like that. And just
Mhm.
hearing all of that upon, you know, after hearing about
So,
where
so
he was during that whole.
do you think that the night that Ted was held up uh from getting to Nicole in labor, I think it was, is the night that he
No, it was
cheated?
when the night that Martin was sick at the
Oh, that's
hospital.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Martin was sick.
And
That's right.
that's what I was like.
Mhm.
Why allude so heavily to that night unless something you know he was off
Yeah.
and about with? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Now, the actress who played Nicole either did an
Mhm.
interview or something, but she said, and I haven't seen the whole thing. I just saw like a little snippet of it. I have to go find it again because I bookmarked it. She said that there's going to be a twist coming
Ooh.
about Ted and Nicole's relationship that will change how a lot of people see Nicole. And I'm like,
Oh,
what if she cheated on Ted? And
yeah.
that's how she got
Mm,
pregnant. And he finds out he's Eva's father just as he finds out he's not Kat's father.
soapy, twisty, and especially if it like paints Nicole in a different. Because up until now,
Yeah,
it's just like you know. I mean, I
yeah.
love Nicole. Nicole is one of my faves. You know, far and away. I
Right.
love her. But you know, I'm very
And
curious to kind of
adultery can
see
be
other
exactly.
layers
Adultery can
and
absolutely be forgiven. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
were going through a hard time.
right.
He
Yeah.
cheated. They weren't feeling close. I could
But they
absolutely.
but then saying they were like locked in, you know, after every. I mean, they had Kat, and then it was just like, "Yep, it's you and me against the world." And yeah, no, I mean, but that would just adding that extra layer for. I'm trying to go spoiler free. I really am. I'm
Oh,
trying to
sorry.
avoid. No, 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 no. It's fine. I mean, I'm on a podcast. It's bound to come up. But
As I
I
said, she
genuinely,
didn't come out and say, she just said that it was some sort of
yeah,
twist, and that's where my mind immediately went.
I
yeah.
mean,
No, I
there's
mean that's
also been
reasonable
rumors
for
that
sure.
maybe Eva is Ted and Nicole's daughter, and Leslie stole her in the hospital.
That
So
I saw tossed. I
Ooh.
saw that theory tossed about a little bit too. Because there's definitely going to be something, you know, it's heading up to, you know, we're right getting into May.
well, I
We're going to
mean,
be seeing some stuff.
we could all agree that Leslie is just batshit crazy.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
she is just a
But
natural
she
soap
gets
villain.
some incredible lines. She had some great lines. I loved it. And he, like, you know, what was she calling like Boo Boo the Fool or something like that, talking
Yeah,
about just, you know. But
but
then even like in today's when you know she was talking with
she
her,
was
you know, showing throwing her
so
girl a
sweet
birthday
to
party.
Ava.
I loved
She
that. You
was
Yeah.
know, she's
so
got all
like,
these
she
different.
really had that. You saw her love for
Yes.
Ava in that
Yeah.
time,
Yeah,
where
because you kinda
sometimes gets
needed a
cloudy.
refresher on that, you know? You just feel like poor
Right.
Ava has just been, like, you know, stuck in this plan, her mother's but seeing like
Mhm.
that we're like the Gilmore Girls and, you know, just with the cake and the you know, it's like, oh, it's
Mhm.
like, you know, I love that character just because like, you don't really know which direction they're gonna take
Mhm.
her they can kinda play with her a lot, which is cool.
Yeah.
They can just kinda throw her in crazy town, or they can make her just, like, you know, vicious it's great. They got so many different ways they can play her, so.
Mhm.
No, I think it's wonderful, especially when you see like Leslie with all the different wigs that she has
Oh,
to
yeah.
transform herself into whatever character she wants to portray.
Yep.
Whether it's the nurse, whether it's the house cleaner.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, the
I
nurse
want
whole thing with like, I mean, that scene was legitimately like scary. It's like, okay, you've got a syringe, you're going in. I was like, is Laura not long for
Yeah.
this world?
to.
I mean, luckily it
I'm
wound up
really
being
glad that
just.
they didn't have her kill her, though.
I
Right.
was too. I was
I
thinking,
feel
are
like
they going to
that's a
go that
line.
far?
Yeah, I feel like that's a line that if they don't
Yeah,
cross
Well,
it, then we can bring her back, kind of thing.
yeah. But that poor girl just being stuck in the hospital, heart attack. Now there's an infection. Now there's a this. Now
She's
there's
just
a.
like,
I mean,
she's like, I
my
would have
gosh.
just quit. I was about to go to
well,
Hawaii.
I want to know. I want to know the backstory of how Leslie became friends with, the girls that she meets at the diner. Because there seem to be just this friends group that's been together,
Mhm.
and Ted's never seen her around town until now.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
I mean, that's my biggest question is she's obviously been, friendly with these girls,
Right.
for quite a
She's
while.
built up a, it's not as if she's just living off like in the middle of nowhere, with her,
Right.
with her daughter, that, no, she's definitely ingrained in the community. So yeah, no, that is kind of interesting. I mean, just shows the
Maybe we're to
different layers
believe
of
it's
Leslie.
well, also though, because they're I mean, they all, they go to the diner and stuff like that, but they all live mostly behind the gates.
That's
True.
true.
That is true.
They're mostly in the country club and in their gated community and stuff like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, good
you
point.
know,
Good point.
Mhm.
I mean, well, we had not to just, but when we have all the scenes with the country club though, Dani versus Bill,
Haley.
and yeah, that
Haley,
whole
they're
Haley.
just
Oh my goodness.
such, I mean,
Like
it's so much lack of consideration for Dani. Just, I don't totally.
it was killing me when they just sat at that corner table, and okay, it's like, well, I want to be accepted at the country club. It's like, there's other places you can go and eat, but then Bill gets all like, I need you to, like, we need to establish that we're allowed here, we belong here, and blah blah. But
Yeah.
just seeing poor Dani just like, first
Right.
off getting fired by that, from released from the board, even though she does all this work, then to, cherry on the Sunday of looking over and seeing the two of them, and then her coming up and rubbing it all in her. It's like,
Right.
Haley, go away. You're
And
cute, you're
it's,
pint-sized, you're
yeah.
adorable, but sometimes you just really bug me. And in that instance, she really bugged me. I'm like, just go away. Just
And
no.
they can't just sit there and have lunch. They have to be sucking face and making out. You know what I
Right.
Yeah.
mean?
Insult to injury. It's just like, come on, like just take it, that. Those scenes really just. I have like a love-hate relationship with Haley. Like, there are
Yeah.
times that I think that she's just like in over her head, that Bill is a jerk, that she's just getting strung along, and that she's got a backbone though, and I like her for that. But then when she gets up in Dani's face, I'm like, just leave the woman alone. Like, what are you trying to accomplish right now?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
at this point, everything is already shaken out, and you're just going up and being petty, and just, it's just like, no, just go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do we think she's pregnant?
That's a good question. I think she might be.
Yeah.
I kind of like the way they talked about it today when Haley said to Bill, "This is going to drive a wedge between you and your daughters."
Yeah.
And which I completely understand.
I think she is, but I don't think that baby's going to see the light of day.
Yeah.
No.
I have a feeling
think
something will happen where she'll lose it. Dani will get the blame, even though it's not Dani's fault.
I could totally see that. Yep.
As long as she doesn't fall out a window.
Oh,
Even I know that reference.
yes.
And I'm not even as dialed into the GH, but I knew that whole story.
Yeah, we all do. That was, yeah. We saw it a million
but
times.
it was a little, it's kind of watching Bill's kind of reaction though to, like, initially finding out, like, well, I thought we were just going to go off and, make love in every room in the house and travel wherever we want to. His attitude changed pretty fast in that moment. And as soon as she said, well, it could be a boy, it's like his whole face lit up, and he's just like, I would have a son. And just got all just like, and I was like, but it was like, kind of a switch on a dime there, where he was like,
oh
opposed,
God,
and
yeah.
now all of a sudden, but she just kind of
Mhm.
says, "Piece of you, piece of me," all of that, and you could tell he warmed up to the idea very quickly. So, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, see, I kind of think that it was more manipulation.
I think so
Mm.
too.
His whole him manipulating her,
Yeah,
him
Yeah.
because he wants to kind of keep, you know,
Her,
he wants to keep.
yeah.
so and
He probably
and she
figures,
told him that
better
she
off
might
with.
be pregnant, so it's already a done deal, possibly.
Right.
So might as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's, and then, but also yeah, he has this image in his head of her just, being the cute little wife who he comes, kind of, with a, with a
Or
little kid
it,
running around,
I mean, it
yeah.
actually could be reverse manipulation and Haley manipulating Bill because she sees
Mhm.
that Bill is still very much enthralled with Dani, and the fact of her being pregnant would bond them together more. So while
Mhm.
she was saying, "Yeah,
Yes.
I've been on the pill and this and that and the other," she could have stopped taking, the pill and
Yeah, that's
whatever,
also,
and kind of
especially
manipulate
after,
the situation.
kind of knowing full well that he was around Dani, he was around that other woman at one point, there could
Mhm.
be some of that going on as well. So, yeah, curious and curious or how that's all gonna play out, but yeah, I don't know those scenes though, and I was so appreciative though, okay, that woman kicks Dani off the board all unceremoniously, but revenge of you don't cross Anita and you don't cross Vernon. I loved the way that they handled that whole situation,
Oh,
and
that was
Anita just
beautiful.
being
It
that
really
was just
was, yes.
delicious to watch. You know,
Yep.
it's like you come after our daughter, yeah, we're gonna just come back after you twice as hard, which was just great.
And Anita took
Mhm.
charge.
Oh yeah.
I love how the girl from the charity goes to say, "Vernon, are you gonna let her do this?"
Yeah,
Like,
just
you're not
looking at
getting any
Vernon like, help.
sympathy from him.
He was just
Yeah.
sitting back, just being like, "My wife's
Right.
got this," but you just, no, that was great.
Right.
That was great. Yeah, don't cross Anita. Don't cross
Oh,
Anita.
she was, and I really liked that because while it was completely warranted and understood why they were coming down so hard on Dani, I kind of really wanted to see them
Hmm.
Well, and I agree.
be
It
super
was
hyper supportive.
it was warranted for the charity to kind of take her off the board, but
Oh,
The fact that
as
they
soon as it
waited until
happened,
she raked in all that
right?
money for them to finally pull the
right.
trigger on that is just,
Yeah,
that was a low blow. And, for them,
Yeah.
exactly.
to use that as the reason to, upend this other charity and create their, it's like, yep, we're going to go and
Mhm.
just create a big badass charity and you can come crawling to us. I was like, yes.
I mean,
Right.
I could almost see the parallels. Anita and Vernon are almost coddling Dani.
Yeah.
Granted, they're
A
they're
little.
they're telling her she's got to get over Bill and everything, and trying to help her through all this. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like they
Yeah.
helped to make sure that she wasn't held accountable and arrested, or face
Yeah.
charges. And now with her losing this board, now they're going to create a new charity, and Dani's going to head the board. So it's
Yeah.
like it's like rewarding bad behavior, and Dani is spiraling out of
Oh,
control
clearly.
at this point.
Yeah. And she's trying to find a foothold too. I mean, everything with Chelsea and Samantha and the modeling, which,
Yep.
you
Mhm.
know, okay, I don't really understand why, if Chelsea is so I'm going to create my purse line. Why are you so eager to become a modeling coach then to your cousin? Because
Yeah.
you're trying to break away from the whole modeling thing. Yes, you'd be a support resource, but Dani would be the perfect candidate for something like that. And for them to just kind of be like, "Oh, well, we aren't sure." It's like, no, you got this
Yeah.
backwards. You want Dani doing
Yeah.
that. I just was
Although
thinking that the whole time. It's like, Chelsea, you just try to make a clean break from the whole runway thing, and now you're gonna be shepherding, Samantha.
although I
Mhm.
do have to ask, and I don't know if you guys know the answer, but I thought the term momager had a negative connotation to it. So while Chelsea's up on the stage saying, "This is my momager, Dani," wouldn't Dani get pissed off by being called that
No,
term?
it's also like a
don't think
term of
so.
endearment.
I think in that sense, it was definitely a term of endearment. I mean, she was really like,
Yeah.
everything that she was saying about Dani. I mean, that was a lovely, kind of send off that they aired the
Mhm.
moment that they had up on that runway. That was very sweet. I think it was like meant as something, just nice and
Oh, okay.
affectionate, not,
I always thought it just had a negative connotation to it.
yeah. I don't know. In that moment, I thought it was so sweet, but it's just like 1 second you want to make a clean break and start your design thing and go off and do it, and then you just
Mhm.
get sucked back in with, I don't know. If I was Samantha, I'd be just like, well, look at the way that Chelsea's career skyrocketed because of Dani. Now you got Dani here looking for something to do, looking for a project. I'd be like, sure, why not? But that was
Mhm.
just me. That was just my kind of gut take on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting too with Smitty and seeing Smitty and Martin's reaction to the whole modeling thing and
Yeah.
that whole family situation we had going on.
Yeah. That was strange. Because I think it's more, and we're obviously seeing the side of Martin, where Martin is more worried about his perception and his image, and to the public, as opposed to everything else in his family. Whether it's Samantha's dreams or whatever, because they even talk about it, and Martin goes to Dani and gets the advice and everything, and we think everything is all hunky dory, and then he says, "But I'm going to have to say no." And it's like, okay.
And that honestly kind of surprised me, because I kind of thought that the Martin and Dani scenes, those were so great. I really loved those. Their interaction was great. I love Dani. Just like when she gets so out of when Bill is not the topic of conversation. I mean, my God, I just want to hug. I love every scene that she's got with everyone in her family. I just she's so lovable and sweet, and I just want to hug her and protect her from everything, because she's a delight. But those were such good scenes, and I really thought that Martin heard her in that, and then for him to just turn around and be like, well, I still can't go. I was like, oh, damn it, Martin.
Yeah, he is. I am struggling with that one.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, me too.
He's showing the idea that he wants what he wants, and he's not going to take no for an answer. But which we're kind of seeing in Samantha too, because she got the answer of no, and now she's like,
she just turned around and no, I'm gonna, we're fine, and I'm gonna make this, happen no matter what anyone says. Which, but yeah, Martin, I struggle with him too. It's like I realize, okay, you've got this big, whopper of a thing that's clouding, in your brain and freaking you out and giving you nightmares and everything like that, but the stance that he takes sometimes it's just like, oof, just frustrating.
I do like how Smitty interacts with the kids. Like, he's more of the level-headed, parent, and I like the terms dad and pop.
Me too. And when they do when they the scenes where oh gosh, I'm trying to with when Tyrell kind of says, they're all just kind of talking about how Martin kind of runs things and how they feel a little, and the kids were just calling it out directly, and I really liked that. Them just kind of be that was a great scene, great moment for Ty. I thought, when he's just was kind of I can't remember the exact dialogue, but just the way that they just kind of all it's like he's domineering over this whole situation. Why aren't just calling it out? I was like, that's cool. They're aware, they understand. So that's just what makes it tougher with Martin.
Speaking of dialogue, I have to. I guess I'm gonna put it like this. I have to learn more of the younger kids' lingo nowadays, because when Samantha and Tyrell were talking, in Tyrell's room or the bedroom or whatever, some of that dialogue I did not understand anything they were talking about. Something about
some of it
drip
I didn't understand,
and something
either.
about something else, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? I know that's probably because I'm old, but
even like aged millennial here. I still thought it was a little bit heavy-handed. Some of the teen speak that they have going. I don't know. It just felt like a little like, okay, we get it. They're teenagers. They don't really look like teenagers, so we're gonna give them dialogue that makes us But I, I mean, I don't know. I don't have a lot of my siblings are all kind of in my age, sort of the millennial sort of. I don't have a lot of Gen Z sort of connection or anything like that. But I feel like it was a little too on the nose. Some of like the dialogue there. It's like we get it. They're teens, but you don't really need to like hammer it home with some of because even I didn't pick up on some of it.
Keep the dialogue authentic,
right.
to to the age group, to whatever.
Yeah, and if that's how they're talking, and I'm unawares, then I'm unawares. I'm just call me like an old soul or something, and I just don't subscribe to that or something. But I don't know. It's just, to me, it felt a little bit like we realized that these don't really look like teenagers, so we're going to kind of in the dialogue make it seem like they really are. Because Samantha, I mean, I like the character of Samantha a lot, but I mean I know it's typical for soaps. Obviously, you're going to have like when I watched One Tree Hill, you had 20 somethings playing high school kids. It's what's done. But she doesn't really look like she's a teen struggling with modeling, just that whole like,
right.
It's like you could have, but we are where we are.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just thought it was a little difficult, but I might just have to ask my son, what some of
There's
these
always
terms.
Urban Dictionary. Comes to work.
All right, let's move on from that. I will say, I think the fashion show was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoyed how they just spotlighted it, and I mentioned it last week. I like how they're kind of taking all the different, kind of like all the different soap settings and kind of putting them all into one. They have the hospital, which denotes general hospital. They have the fashion now, which kind of is a throwback to Bold and the Beautiful. Like I said, I hope they don't get into supernatural like Days.
We're gonna start seeing demonic possessions and
I don't think they will.
But
levitating beds.
I'm enjoying what they're doing with all the different sides of the story of the show. They're I like the scenes in the hospital. I like how they have the nurses station set up, and it's just obviously a lot of it has to do with Andre and his documentary about the nurses and his budding romance with Ashley and everything.
That was an interesting kind of way. I appreciated just piggybacking off of that. I appreciated how like they have that documentary thing, and he was interviewing Nicole, and that's how we kind of got some insight into everything with Nicole, just through that lens, of him just interviewing. I thought that was a really good way to just kind of learn a little bit more about that part. And then for like him to say we're not going to really use the footage she went off on his hair, but this is like her history. I thought that was a really cool way they went about that.
Yeah. Go on, Angela.
Did anybody else get the feeling that the thing is actually going to end up focusing on the head nurse gossipy chick? Why can't I remember her name?
Shanice.
Shanice?
Yeah, just the part because he was like filming her while she was gossiping talking to those nurses, not gossiping, but like advising them about you know what I mean? And I think that struck something in him.
Oh yeah,
I think so,
I agree.
About
and then we also
really
had
nurse
Ashley confessing her feelings for and crying over everything that happened with Derek. With that whole and he's just standing there in the background just taking it all in, and I was just like, oh, so soapy.
But I also like how Shanice is kind of playing into it, and she's acting like she's going to be a big star now, and she's on the phone and talking to whoever.
And I liked the way that she handled her scenes with well, I can't remember the alias that she was using, But
Oh,
when she
yeah,
The
Leslie.
nurse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember like the name that she gave, but those scenes were great when she's just kind of like, skeptical of her, questioning, and then also even the scenes with her and Ava, when she's just kind of like, it's like, yeah, she's a little bit like, she's a little bit like, oh yeah, I'm a nurse, you're filming me, I'm getting my big break, but at the end of the day, it's like she isn't messing around. She's like, who are these people? What's going on with this? Why do you want all this information?
They actually pay attention to HIPAA, which
Right,
is a breath of fresh
right.
air in soap operas.
I mean,
Right?
gosh, I love, Kayla to death, but honey, you can't play the HIPAA card now. So many times. Like once in a while you'll hear her say it, and it's just like, but no, honey, it applies to everybody, not just you can tell at least at least this far on Beyond the Gates. They're sticking to that, and I appreciate that.
Speaking of which, I do speak. You brought up the name Caleb, which reminds me, congratulations to Steve Johnson,
I
played by
saw
Stephen
that.
Nichols,
Very excited.
who
My boy won.
won our 2025 Soap Stars March Madness tournament, voted on by all of you guys on Twix. Thank you so much for voting and sharing and liking and reposting and as we went through this awesome tournament. Next year, we're going to do things a little differently. We're going to try to pay attention more to the maybe episode count or story power and stuff as we go into seeding to get some more of the main characters rather than going based on just randomness. But either way, it's a fun thing we do, and congratulations to Steve Johnson, handily
very happy to
defeating
see him.
Ned Quartermain, portrayed by Wally Kurth.
And I got respect for Ned, but I was just like, yay, my boy, came away with it. But yeah, no, I appreciated just the scenes though when she's just kind of like challenge. It's like Shanice, like she doesn't, she take no shit. She's just like, I'm not gonna, give out this information that easily. I'm gonna, I appreciated that, and just and the way Ava was just digging in, man. I mean, she was laying. She's very persuasive too, just like, well, she has an answer for everything. I mean, she's a clever girl.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about, do you think it's going to turn into a triangle? Obviously, we know that there's some kind of rivalry between Kat and Ava. Do you think it's going to turn into a triangle with Tomas?
I could definitely see it. And personally, I think that Ava has more chemistry with Tomas than Kat and Tomas. The calculator thing today, it was cute. Okay, I can give it that. They have some cute moments, but I don't know. I see more of a spark between Ava and just chemistry-wise. That's just me, though.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Nate Dogg? Welcome to chat.
All right, welcome. I got to pop, guys, because the text came in from my daughter. The undriving waif. I have to pick her up. I will watch the rest of this later, though, and I'll be back with you guys next week. Sorry, I got to.
All right.
Sounds good. Take care, Angela. Drive safely.
But yeah, so let's get down to business, and let's keep on going with the rest of GateCrashers. I have to say that I like how they're going with the different stories and just how the pacing. How they're focusing on one or two stories, and then it's like then we'll see kind of everything intermingle at one point or another. And I like when they have the scenes where the different stories kind of come together.
I do too. And I think that, it's just, we get to see just the pacing of it. I agree. It's just, it feels like it's just, they know what they're doing, and they just, they got a lot of stories that they're telling though, too. They've got a lot of different characters, and I know that, like, I mean, heck, we haven't even touched on, there's everything with like the gambling side of stuff with Joey. You got, speaking of Joey and, oh my goodness, why am I blanking on her name?
Vanessa,
thank you. I'm shipping the two of them. I'm there. I like their chemistry a lot. I think those two actors really like kind of sparkle together, and I just No, I think John Lindstrom is like, I love that character already, but I think that their scenes are just really, really dynamic, and I want to see more of the two of them.
Yeah, no, I'm
On record.
enjoying. Yeah, no, I'm enjoying those scenes. I like John Lindstrom in his dark side. I mean, he's
Oh yeah.
channeling his inner, Ryan Chamberlain for this.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
he's
And like
such
kind of the
a.
smooth talker that he was on when he was playing Craig on As the World Turns too. He kind of had
Mhm.
that sort of like ability to wriggle out of like a tight space, and just kind of charm his way out and talk his way. And I'm seeing that with this character too. When he kind of so easily slips into like, well, yeah, okay, so my mom. I mean, he got caught in a pretty blatant sort of lie
And he was
with the
able just
whole.
to turn it around just
Yeah.
like that,
And
and
granted, like, she's admitted that she has, and I did really appreciate too her scenes with Nicole.
yes.
When Nicole just, you got that friendship, they know each other inside and out. She
Hmm.
knows that, Vanessa's out playing the field. She knows that the relationship with her and with, what's his face,
Doug.
Doug is not, on solid ground. It's just, but I really love how, like, you have like that female friendship there. That those scenes were
Yes.
so great, and
Yep.
just they push plot along too, so
Oh yeah.
effortlessly, because it's like,
Well, that's the thing. It's like when we see the scenes with Vanessa and Nicole, or Ted and Andre, or
right.
Ava and Leslie. When they have
It's
the
never just
conversations,
filler. Yeah.
they're meaningful. You're
Yeah.
right. It's never filler.
Yeah.
Um, and everything is driving the story.
Mhm.
Um, and I, I really like the story with Doug. Like
So do I.
I like the inner turmoil from Randy, the fact where he cares about Doug as a friend, but
Yes.
he's got a job to do from Joey. So,
Mhm.
he's trying to kind of push him towards the gambling and
There's
what
a
have
lot
you.
of threads to pull there too, because you've got like,
Yes.
the gambling, you've got the cops involved, you've got this guy that's like, the kind of, you've got a lot of different angles to come up with that story. And I
I
really
just
like
hope.
that we don't know everything just yet, and they're kind of just
Yep.
teasing us with certain. It's setting it itself up to be really cool though, and I just seeing Doug even in like that place of just kind of spiraling a little. When he was like,
Yeah.
they showed him over the operating table, and he's just thinking of like, you can
And
see, yes, this
I
man
like
is an
how they
addict.
explained it. I like how they explained it where Doug hasn't been sleeping because he's been pulling long shifts at the hospital and then going gambling instead of going home to
Yeah.
sleep, and he's just
Mhm.
exhausted and
Yeah.
everything. And I like how they put that in there because it's not that he was sitting at the card table and he was poisoned. That's why he was kind of shaking or whatever.
Right.
It's
No, it was legit. Like,
it's showing the thrones of addiction. He's addicted to
yeah.
gambling, and
Yeah. And he's
instead of
starting
going
to
home to
unravel.
sleep,
Yeah.
yeah, yep. Instead of
And
going home to sleep, he's going to the
it's
casino.
starting, the cracks are starting to show. He's getting like, they showed him at the hospital, and like, gets called in for, an emergency surgery, and he's all like snippy. It's like, dude, this is your job. You're saving lives. Like,
Yeah,
but obviously if you are sleep deprived and worried about debt, then you
yep.
are not going to be in like the state of mind, but just the way that they
Which
captured that and just
which kind
advanced
of begs
everything
the
so much
question.
with that plot.
It almost begs the question as a doctor, and I don't know because I don't know many doctors that are on personal terms with me, or surgeons I should say. But
Hmm.
I'm almost wondering how if you're a doctor on call, let's say, and similar to Doug gets called in for a surgery. Well, what happens? I understand that you know you have to help people, but if you're legitimately you have a family function, you're up all night or you're up late or whatever,
Yeah.
how do you function? Like, could you easily say, hey, I haven't been to sleep? Like, I could tell you from experience, I'm not a doctor. When I was working at a hotel, um I had worked, um I'd worked 3 p.m. to 11, then the night person never called or never showed up. So I had to work overnight to 7. And then the first shift person called out. So I literally had to text my boss and be like, I realistically and legitimately, physically, I cannot work any longer. Like, I have
No.
been up for X amount of hours because I was only supposed to be working 3 to 11, not the whole thing.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if
I
doctors have that option to, especially if it's a life or death situation, to say, yeah, I need 4 hours of sleep or whatever,
I mean, for what it's worth, and this is just quick little sidebar here because I don't know if you're familiar with or had watched any of the show The Pit, which came out on HBO Max.
I've been hearing all about that. My mother says it's good. I have not watched any of it
One
yet.
of the best, probably one of the best full seasons of TV that I've watched in a very long time. And it was only season 1 right out the gate, no pun intended.
Yep.
But that show captures hospital drama in a lot of in the way that doctors have described it as like the most realistic portrayal of an emergency medicine situation on TV.
I've heard that it's kind of like a spiritual successor to ER.
Yes. Yeah.
Because Noah Wiley is the star in it, and he came from ER, obviously, but
but in terms of just the way that they portray the procedures, the doctors, the way that the situations are handled, very realistic, very true to life, and they've got a lot of like doctors that are like consult with the writers, things like that. But I mean, if that's any indication, because I don't have much experience.
It's fantastic, so.
Yeah, I don't have much experience with, I don't really know a lot of, surgeons or doctors or medical people personally. Well, actually, that's not true. There is one woman I do know who works as an ER nurse in a pediatric intensive care unit for babies that have like heart conditions and things, and she's a complete rock star. But when it comes to, discussing just, sleep deprived and everything like that, I don't know how doctors do it. I don't know. I'd be like, on The Pit, they would just show folks like grabbing a granola bar, then being like, okay, we're going to take a few hours, maybe go home, crash for a bit, and then come back. I honestly don't know really how it's done, but I know that I could not survive and handle that kind of schedule. I think my brain would break because, one horrible night's sleep for me and I'm useless the next day.
So, and
I'm not, performing surgery. So
kind of moving on from doctors, but also more of a medical style of thing. I am going to go ahead and bring in a new segment to the show. We were doing it on Suds News, and obviously do it last week because we didn't do GateCrashers last week. But I'm going to go over into the what the fudge moment of the week. I have to say that the what the fudge moment of the week happened just today at the very end of the episode when Naomi tells Bill that she's dropping the case.
Yes.
She's told her told her clients that she couldn't represent them anymore. We don't know why. We'll find out why tomorrow. But my reasoning for it is because she was really building up the client. She was really gearing up for war.
And then all of a sudden that genuinely was kind of a surprising left turn that whole that all took based off of and I get it, if you have a difficult hostile relationship with someone in your family, but you find out that they're potentially sick and or in the hospital, or there's that sort of, and it just puts things into, it makes you shift perspectives. It's that genuinely, and she was like, there was some reasoning behind it. Like you could hear her saying like, well, what if like I did demolish his firm and I did take all of it, like how would that affect him physically? It's something that didn't occur to her until she saw in the moment, like, oh my gosh, she could potentially be having a heart attack right in front of me. So but it was very just, all right, I'm out. It's like, but wait a minute, like there's got to be something that we could. It just it kind of hurt to see her say that. Yeah, it kind of it genuinely kind of hurt to see her say that. I'm like, no, but
because it's almost like they're going to go one of two ways. Either she's dropping out because she knows she'll beat Bill so badly that they'll close the firm and everything, or she's taking pity on him because she knows he's going through some kind of a medical problem. Right. But the What the Fudge moment of the week is brought to you by our brand new advertiser, What the Fudge Homemade Confections. If you are in the New Haven, Connecticut area, go to whatthefudgect.com or facebook.com/whatthefudgect to check out the offerings of that week. It is made by a cottage licensed home facility, so they can't ship, unfortunately. But if you are in the New Haven, Connecticut area, go to those places, order them. I mean, I'm biased, but the fudge is fantastic. And
Now you're
there's
making me
more
want
stuff.
fudge.
What?
This is making me want to like go raid my chocolate stash right now. This sounds very. Oh my goodness.
Well, if you're ever in New Haven, we'll get you some fudge.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to. We're gonna have to make that happen.
Or live by me or my sister, and we'll be able to deliver it. But either
Oh
way,
man.
yeah, go check them out. And like I said, it could go one of two ways. Either
Yeah.
with because the way that Naomi said to him, "Oh, well, your assistant can't make up, reasons why you can't be in court and everything." And Bill's like, "You're right, I don't have court, but we could postpone it because of a doctor's appointment."
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that's like, oh, she's so you could kind of see the care, especially when she said, "Is something wrong, Daddy?" Just the way that
Yeah.
she said it.
And when she reacted, even seeing him having his episode, just
Yeah.
complete, turned on a dime. Are you okay? I think she called him
Yes.
daddy in that moment as well. And it's like that's it's something that it's you see a loved one in that situation, and all of a sudden your perspective just totally shifts. But I
Yes.
am curious to just kind of see. It was quite a little moment to end the episode on, and so I'm curious to see where it's going to kind of lead to. So,
Yeah,
which is the whole point of
I'm
the show.
wondering where it's going to lead to as well. Just the way, because after Naomi or no, that was the end of the episode. Naomi comes in. So we'll find
Yep.
we'll find out tomorrow, kind of where which way they go with it. Because you're
Yeah.
right, was questioning everything, and I'm sure that lawyers. Well, I can't say that there are very very many lawyers that have morals, but I'm wondering if lawyers ever do think about their opponents. And the reason why I say that is 95% of the time they're not going to be related. Like, I would think
Right.
this would almost be a classic conflict of interest because of
Yeah.
the father-daughter
But
relationship.
part of me feels like I don't know, it would be because you were talking about how like they have like the different, sort of
Yeah.
sets, and like they're kind of. I feel like this show can't resist having some juicy court scenes and courtroom drama between Bill and Naomi. I feel
So,
like,
do you think that
seeing some of
tomorrow?
that playing out, I could
Do
see
you
them
think
like,
that tomorrow Naomi says, "Well, I was thinking about it, and this could cost you your business because when I win, it's going to cost you more money, XYZ, and you're going to have to give up on your dream because you won't be able to afford to keep it open." And that's when Bill gets kind of his haunches up to say, "Oh, you're doing this for me? You think you're going to beat me?"
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
your confidence. I raised a confident girl, but you're not going to beat me.
Yeah.
And then
I don't
Naomi
know. I just feel like those scenes would just be like almost too good to pass up. The two of them going like toe to toe in court. But I guess we'll just kind of have to see how it all plays. But I
Yeah.
do, their scenes are so great. I think those two actors play off each other so well. I mean, they just, even the episode scenes and then the follow up with everything with this, it's just her being able to just kind of switch from one mode to the other and just seeing it
Yes.
happen in real time. Just really, really well done scenes. So,
Agreed.
yep. As much as Bill bugs the heck out of us, damn,
Well, I like him
dynamic
as a
scenes.
character. Like,
Oh
he's
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
somebody you love to hate.
You need a
He's
villain.
he's
You
a
need a
villain, but he's not.
or anti-hero villain, dark character,
I would kind of say he's just somebody that's there as an asshole, and I wouldn't necessarily say villain because he hasn't really done any. I mean, yes, he's hurt Dani, and he's hurt his kids by cheating, but nothing in terms of physical violence.
Oh
He's
yeah, yeah.
gone around the
No,
rules. He's
if we're gonna talk villain, give
trash.
Joey some time, and we'll be seeing
Joey,
that,
Leslie,
side.
yeah.
Yeah, Leslie,
Yep.
yeah. No, he's just, but in certain moments, it's just, yeah, he can just be a bit of a, bit of an asshole, bit of a jerk, but they just layered characters. Gotta love it.
Oh yeah,
Shades of
no,
gray,
you have
gotta
to.
love it.
The layers are great. I really like. I kind of like how they have Chelsea and Kat working together on their purse line now,
Hmm.
and and Kat struggling with whether she wants to lose her virginity or not.
Oh yeah, and
I
even
kind of like that story right
just
now.
quick little with the
Yeah,
dialogue, and also with Kat and the virginities, when they were the cake conversation that she had with Chelsea today,
yeah,
when she started saying like, I like cake, but I have to trust cake before. I loved that. I just thought
yes.
like that was just like a perfect little way for them to just kind of bring in the subject again, and just with but referencing it as cake. I appreciated that dialogue. I was just like, yeah, that's cool.
I really am enjoying the. I like how I like the whole story with Kat and Tomas. Like
Hmm.
Kat is a very tricky character because you want to like her because of her morals and not wanting to just jump in bed. She's still a virgin. She's looking
Oh
for the
yeah,
right
yeah,
person to lose. But
yeah,
then you want to hate her because like she's on to Eva, which is good, but Eva's such a likable character because of her
yeah.
backstory, and you can see how Eva is coming at this deception, for lack of a better term, from a
Hmm.
different viewpoint than Leslie. Leslie just wants
Yes,
to get the money from Ted and get back at Ted and ruin Nicole and Ted's marriage and all that. Eva
for
actually
sure.
wants the love
Yeah.
from
She
Ted.
wants that connection. You can see
Yeah,
it. And it's so lovely to just kind of, see, the different kind of, especially if they kind of, have it where we're not necessarily with parentage,
yep,
sister relationship down the road. I mean, they are really setting up for like a really cool sort of rivalry slash who knows what's going to really shake out in terms of them actually being related, everything like that. But they're laying such good groundwork with the two of them, and
they are.
especially throwing the Tomas thing into the mix too.
Yep,
I could
yep.
definitely see them trying to make it into a triangle, especially because as much as because I do appreciate Kat's story with Tomas, I do appreciate that they've taken like that kind of virgin route with her, and that
Mhm.
like I just think that that's something you don't necessarily see and you wouldn't expect to see from this character. That was a moment that I was
Right.
just like, wow, okay, that's a new layer for her, and I really appreciate that. But I do think that chemistry wise, I see more between, I don't know, I'm just more drawn to Tomas and Eva.
Eva.
I think that
Yep.
they just have like a certain, rapport with each other that I just really like. So that makes for an interesting triangle, though. That makes for an interesting
I
sort of
think there's a lot
situation.
of I think there's a lot of innuendos between Kat and Tomas because Tomas being a young man and he's really into
Mhm.
Kat and you could tell that he is. I mean, hell,
Oh,
he
yeah.
got grilled by the Dupree men at
Yeah.
the fashion
That
show.
was a good, I appreciated that when they all just kind of circle up and just kind of like,
Yeah,
what are you about, guy? What's your deal? And he just
but I
had
mean,
that deer
hell,
in the headlights
I'm
sort of look.
sorry, but if I was Tomas, just meeting Ted with that deep voice and just
Hmm.
that kind of
Yeah.
uh who am I thinking of? Crap. He played Cheeseburger Eddie in Longest Yard. Um,
Oh,
oh crap, I can't remember
you'll
his
think
name
of
now.
it. You'll think of it
Um,
at some point.
I'm gonna have to look it up because it's gonna bother me.
Yeah. No,
Um,
don't mess with Turtleneck Ted, don't mess with that guy. But yeah, just no, Tomas, like, he held his own, but you could see as soon as all the guys just kind of,
Terry Crews. Terry
there we
Crews. That's what I'm
yes,
talking about.
okay. Yeah.
Where Ted has that Terry Crews deep voice and
Yes.
that intimidating,
Yep.
physique and just I mean hell,
Yeah.
that's all you really need. But then when you got Vernon and Martin and Jacob and
Yep.
all the
All the
Dupree men
guys.
just
Yeah.
circling this poor guy and the added wrinkle that he works with Bill,
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
just there's just a lot of stuff where there's an automatic mistrust.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, he's the new kid on the block in terms of like, just that whole family, and even in terms of Kat, like I think it was Vernon or someone said today how they're not used to even seeing Kat with anybody, period.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
this is the first, kind of, so yeah, no, it's kind of a shock to the system for everybody. But, it was really like just talking about like the family connection with the birthday party scenes today.
Yep.
And everyone just kind of gathered around, and Dani swapping, sharing stories, and the singing and everything. And I mean, also, can we talk about like Tamara, her voice, her singing voice? Holy cow! I mean, I know the character plays a singer on the show, but my goodness, I mean, just very fun, lovely. That family dynamic is just. I love the way that they just make a point of carving that out.
I think they made the perfect casting choice with Tamara Tooney.
Oh my God!
As
Yes,
Anita Dupree.
because she alone
has the presence, the aura, where that you can be. And not saying that there's anyone else that couldn't portray it, but
she just fits it so well. She does. She can do the playful. She can do the sort of like but also just the. I will like give you a look that will destroy you.
Because, I mean, I'm used to her from SVU as just kind of that supporting medical examiner role. And
she was
now
so magnetic in that. I mean, I've been binging SVU lately like there's no tomorrow. And the earlier seasons, I mean, Warner was like, any episode with Warner, it's just like, yep, that woman knows her stuff.
Yes. Yep.
So no, seeing her on this has just been she's phenomenal in this, and it's just great seeing her. And you could tell that she's just having fun with the role too. You can just tell like she's just, and all of them are, and that's just so fun to see. And you can just tell like the material that they get and everything about it. It's just. But also too, just really quick on the family scenes, Vernon and Dani in today's episode.
Yes.
Just oh man, I mean,
I loved it.
Vernon in general, I mean, you sit, anytime he starts, it's like, I gotta, like, Vernon, you're so wise. Can you just, like, sit and chat with me, like, over, like, I love that character so much. But him just, like, knowing that, like, Dani needed a little handhold, going to the house, and just, those scenes were so lovely. And then to know, though, that, like, she goes to the party, and she seems like she's good, and she's talking with, Nicole and everything, and they were, and all of like these, the family is trying to keep her locked in, engaged. They're checking up on her. They're always like, how's Dani doing today? It's like the Dani progress report. They always have to kind of go around and just be like, how's she doing today? Oh, well, but, and then it just breaks your heart when you cut back to her at the apartment, and she's just, reaching for the vodka again. It's like, me.
Yep. I know.
My poor girl.
Like I said, she's spiraling. She's going to need help at some point. I just, like I said, I feel like Vernon and Anita, I almost feel like the family kind of protects Dani, which is great, but she has to be held accountable. And there's only so much you can excuse because she's upset because of her divorce. And, not everybody that goes through divorce goes to the bottom of the bottle.
Yeah, but there is also the layered thing, not just the divorce. I think that Chelsea, not being able to, she's kind of losing all of these aspects that were like defining her for so long.
She has lost all of her image, like everything that made Dani Dupree who Dani Dupree was. The first one was when she married Bill, and he forced her to quit modeling. Whether he forced her or she did it, whatever, by marrying her, he didn't want her to work, which sounds chivalrous in a way, but at the same time, you're losing your identity. So, she can't model anymore. So then her daughter grows up and wants to become a model. So she manages her. Okay, that's great. Now her daughter doesn't want to be a model anymore. She wants to go design. So she loses that. So everything that was about her in the modeling business, which is what her passion is, she's losing it all.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like
model, apparently, I guess.
Not trying to draw a comparison, but I did just see the show last weekend. But I had the privilege of seeing Sunset Boulevard on Broadway. I got to see the production there. It was amazing. But whole premise of that, you got this starlet who is completely starting to fade out of the whole Hollywood thing and is desperate to hold on. And gosh, if you don't see like parallels of that kind of journey with Dani,
Yeah.
just, you know, her
Exactly.
trying to hold on to her image and maintain it however she can, and just realizing slowly that she needs to just find that pivot point where she can like rework and find something else that just really sets her and gets her going. And
Yep.
I don't know. I still think that they're going to have it where she's Samantha's momager.
Well,
I see that
yeah,
happening.
that's great, but I also think she could be a fantastic promoter. I
Oh,
mean, the way that
God,
she
she can
put
do
together
anything.
that fashion show,
Oh, yeah.
she's
Yeah.
fantastic at it.
Yeah.
You know,
I
and
just could see it where there's like, you know, they decide to bring her in and she just kind of gets swept. I could just see that route playing out a little bit because she was so eager to pursue it and so cute. Like,
yeah,
I can bring you back to my house and you can see exactly like, you know, I'll show you where, like, you know, we can get you under the lights and show you where everything goes. And she just,
yep.
you know, I don't know. I just want Dani to have the world because she's adorable and I love her. Except when she goes and says like, "I love you, Bill." It's like, no, just stay away from Bill, damn it, and then everything will be fine.
Yes. But honestly, once you give up modeling, Bill was all she had, and then her kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, the fact that Bill traded in for a younger model, as she put it, you know, it killed her because that took away her entire identity of what it had become, wife and
Mhm.
mother. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, she's got
Yeah.
free money, so she's able to keep her lifestyle the way it is. But
Yeah.
you know, it's just, and then to kind of face some repercussions from her actions, she's
Mhm.
not, you know, she's not equipped to handle that because her family coddled her, you know, a lot growing
Yeah.
up.
No, she's definitely, you know, and you know the way the family is just very, you know, they're protective of her, and you could see that
Yeah,
even like, you know, and all the outreach that they were making at her, like to her, you know, Vernon coming to her house and Anita saying like, hey, you should, or not Anita, uh, her, her sister Nicole,
Nicole.
Nicole saying, just sorry, it's been a long day. Nicole just saying how, you know, like we can stay up and like have ice cream and just, you know, and
Yeah,
her just turning all of that away. You know, it's like I don't know. Let Andre go in and check on her again. Maybe she needs
yeah.
some some
Oh
Andre
yes.
TLC.
Yep. Uh, but I think we've kind of hit every major topic.
I mean, there's so much to hit, but I feel like we did cover a lot of the bases. Yeah, there's just, you
Yeah.
know, you got a lot of plot, you got a lot happening, a lot of balls in the air, but that's what makes this fun. So.
All right, but we are out of time. We'll be back next week, same time, same channel for
Yep.
GateCrashers. As always, Kim, where can everybody find you?
So I am Misfit8690 on Twitter /X and a little Misfit52 on YouTube. So feel free to hit me up there on either of those platforms. And
All right.
yeah, that's where I'm at.
I am at Vinny Suds on Twitter, Vinny Suds on Facebook, at Suds Media on Twitter as well. For anything, go to suds-media.com. You can also reach Angela at Brooklyn74 on Twitter and Blue Sky, I believe. And you can always go to pettyprattle.com for all news and information. But we are out of time, folks. We'll be back next week as we crash through that gate at Fairmont Crest. We'll see you next week right here
Take care,
on
everybody.
GateCrashers.
Have a good night.